on Elon Musk. I've talked about Elon Musk for several years, off and on. Don't follow him really, but of course I first talked about him many years ago, profiting off of the man-made climate change hoax. Now, in the future, just for saying that phrase, making that claim, which is based upon reasonable doubt, let's just call it, because I have a science degree, an advanced science degree, a real science degree, not a fake degree like Elon Musk. We'll talk about that here shortly. But in the future, it's very possible that if you claim that climate change is not real, you will be banned. You will be censored. You might be fined. You might be imprisoned. You know, it's kind of like that other kind of a narrative, you know, from a long time ago that was kind of created, that's given a certain group all kinds of power. Everything, their foundation of their power is based upon that whole story. And if you're in certain countries and you claim, well, the facts don't support the narrative, you can go to jail. Folks, anytime anybody imposes any type of punishment, of any type of prison term, based upon any type of speech, especially if it's just something, it's nothing threatening, they just don't agree. And there's a prison term. What does that tell you? It tells you they're trying to hide something, right? They're trying to intimidate you, to scare you from investigating things, from saying things. That in itself is pretty much tells you what's going on. But there have been people who have proposed, in fact, Al Gore, I think, was the first person, as you can imagine, the climate change fraudster. Oops, I'm sorry. He's the global warming fraudster because, as you recall, this whole narrative was called global warming, right? That was the original term. In fact, that term has been floating around. That whole fear-mongering narrative has been floating around for decades. But as you might recall, although most people have forgotten, when Al Gore launched his pitch for global warming, as it was known, the problem became a few years later when all these dire predictions that he used to scare the public didn't come true. In fact, in many cases, the opposite happened. There wasn't warming, there was cooling, so on and so forth. So what happened? Well, the global warming crime syndicate decided to change the phrase, and they called it man-made climate change. Okay? And I don't know exactly when that term came around officially, but it was probably around 2011 or 12, after there was a lot of criticism for these dire predictions by conman Al Gore didn't come true, and the opposite was happening. So this crime syndicate decided to change the name from global warming to man-made climate change. Why? Well, because man-made climate change can describe anything that happens in the climate, any type of weather peril, any event. Oh, well, it's due to man-made climate change because the climate's always changing. You understand? A complete fraud. That designation, that 180 turnaround, in and of itself is enough evidence to prove that it's a fraud. Okay? But I won't even entertain anyone out there in the public domain who, number one, doesn't have an advanced science degree, okay, and number two, is not in any way, shape, or form in bed with the establishment. In other words, if you're working actively with the government or university, you don't talk to me. Why? Because they're obviously in bed with the climate change people. You're not going to get funded. If you're a scientist working in anything remotely, vaguely similar to anything you can tie into climate change, they won't get funded. That's a fact. So really, mostly the scientists, the academic scientists who have come out and exposed the ridiculous claims behind, quote, man-made climate change, these are the scientists who are pretty much retired. They don't have to face any loss of funding, you see. In fact, I did an interview with a world expert, a world authority on climate change, and he debunked all the stuff. And but anyway, so let's kind of begin. We'll get back to the whole climate change hoax here a little bit later. And of course, as you can imagine, this is where Elon Musk basically made all his money through taxpayer subsidies, in addition to federal government grants for Tesla, right? We'll get back to that here a little bit later. What really triggered this for me to do this is I saw this video. And, I don't keep up with any of this stuff, the politics. It's all a waste of time, basically. They're all crooks and liars. Everybody in politics, all around the world. Your country is not an exception. All politicians are crooks and liars. And that's just a fact. Everywhere around the world. So let's take a look here. I wanted to show you this. Let me find it here. The reason why I decided to, and you can listen to this, the reason why I decided to do this, make this video. Okay, so you've got Elon Musk, and of course Elon Musk has been the going around attending all these Trump events, trying to get support for Trump. That's another issue in and of itself, which we may get into. Hopefully we will, if I remember. But I wanted you to listen to this. This is what really struck me. This is why I said, you know what? God damn it, I've got to come out and I've got to. Of course, I've exposed Elon Musk many years ago. Now, let me just go ahead and say before I begin. Just like Trump, Elon Musk is not all bad in my book. There are some benefits. There is some good. But the problem in my book is that it's not good enough. Just because when people say, well, at least he's going to do this. It's not good enough for me. Just like if either you're honest or you're dishonest. There's no fucking in between. Oh, well, he's less dishonest than him. Sorry, get him away from me. So that's kind of the situation, is that, these guys, Trump, Musk, they're just, people see them probably as better than the other side. You've got Mark Cuban trying to pull the same thing as Elon Musk. And, I exposed Cuban as a fucking drunk many years ago. Complete loser. I mean, when you look at Cuban and then I look at Musk and Trump, I'm like, Jesus, of course you're going to embrace Musk and Trump, right? But the fact is I just stay away from all of them. So let me just, once again, Musk is not all bad, but I think he's disingenuous. And the bottom line is he's motivated by power and money, just like most of these scumbags in the world. That's the problem. And they pretend like they're on your side. Okay, let's see if they're on your side if that power and money is threatened. You see? So let's listen now to this. This is in New York. Elon Musk is going to talk on behalf of Donald Trump. Let's listen to this. We'll stop it as needed.
Madison Square Garden, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the greatest capitalist in the history of the United States of America, Elon Musk.
Okay, you hear that? The greatest capitalist in the history of the United States of America. Folks, if that's true, why this whining moron who, I don't know what happened to his voice, if this is true, then capitalism has failed. It doesn't exist. Think about it for a second. Elon Musk made his fortune from taxpayer money. Taxpayer money. Not only that, he made his fortune from fraud. From fraud and murder, homicide. That's right. You all know that, right? I've pointed this out many times. False claims, right? Pump and dump through stocks, cryptocurrencies, false claims, full self-driving, robo-taxi, all this crap. Pump up the stock, sell the shares. You all understand. So this clown is calling him the greatest capitalist in history? Really? How is that capitalism? I mean, come on. And the people are that fucking stupid. No one to question these things. Right? So let's go ahead and listen. I guess this whole like rock and roll guitar thing is supposed to be, is that like the anthem of the right wing, the Republicans? I guess it is kind of the, you know, the country boy, right? If you all notice that. And, you know, as a disclaimer, I've never registered as a Democrat or Republican. The whole system's fucked. It's for fucking idiots, to be honest. But I'm just saying, you know, it seems like this whole rock and roll, yeah. I guess it could be much worse, right? They could be playing rap and hip hop, which is not even music. So let me remind everyone, think about this for 1 second here. I mean, and by the way, someone tell me that when I have something to say, it shouldn't reach millions. You better damn well fucking believe it should, but it never will. You know why? I was banned a long time ago. The things that I have to say are critical. They're 100% valid. And that's why you won't hear them. Okay? Instead, you get shills that are promoted to tens, hundreds of millions of people. Joe Rogan, Patrick Shit David, right? All these fucking clowns. You understand? Because it's all about herding the sheep, right? You herd the sheep into the slaughterhouse. Disinformation bullshit. Let me remind everybody, this is Elon Musk. Okay? 20 years ago, this was a man who had aligned himself with Democrats. Let's not forget that. He was rubbing shoulders with Al Gore and all these Democrats. Why? Because he wanted to launch Tesla. You got it? He went where the money was after he bought Tesla. Booted the founders, basically. Made all these false claims, claiming he's an engineer, right? Claiming, oh, I have an undergrad in physics, which, first of all, undergrad means nothing. Doesn't mean a whole lot. Second of all, I question that. I don't think that you do have an undergrad in physics. We'll talk about that here a little bit later. It's kind of ironic, by the way. Myself and Elon Musk were at the same university, close to the same time period, University of Pennsylvania. And I spent some time in the physics department at UPenn. But anyway, so think about this. Elon Musk was a liberal. He embraced the climate change to get the money. And it's funny because take a look now. He built this huge company, got all these tax credits to launch everything and all these tax subsidies. Worth a fortune now off the back of taxpayers and fraud, which we'll talk about more later. But think about it now. Now he did a 180 and he's completely fucked you Democrats. How are you Democrats feeling now about your tree-hugging, save the whales movement to buy an EV to save the world? Yeah, Elon Musk is our hero. How do you feel now, you dumbasses? He fucked you people. And I think it's fucking beautiful. I think it's great. Because he showed you dipshits what this is all about. It's all about money. Somebody tell me, all you tree huggers out there, please tell me how buying an electric vehicle is saving the world. It's not even reducing carbon emissions. Because, once again, I love to say this phrase. The last time I checked, I didn't see any fucking solar panels on Tesla vehicles. When you charge the fucking battery, it comes from the burning of fossil fuels. Got it? Dumbasses? You stupid fucking idiots. Of course, you've never heard that fact mentioned anywhere. And I've been saying it now for more than a decade. Think about that. Why is it no one's saying this? Because they don't want you to know what's going on. You see, they don't want people to understand what's going on. Just like I mentioned many years ago, the media, right? Trump claims the media is against him, right? That's his big thing. Oh, the media, oh, the legacy media, they're the mainstream media, they hate me. But think about it. Trump is the media. Trump is part of the media cabal. For those who are too young to know this, Trump made his mark back in the 80s. He was on every fucking magazine cover, every fucking month. And of course, part of that, a large part of that was because of his wife. You might want to look into her background. If you're really sharp, you can just look at her appearance and tell. That tells the story. But she was also paraded as, oh, an Olympic skier. And all this exaggerated bullshit. Okay? You might want to look closely into her lineage. And that will explain a lot, including perhaps the spouses of Trump's kids. Okay, anyway. Can't talk about these things. But it's obviously very important. So think about this for a second. Elon Musk, he got all this money from the government, all the taxpayer subsidies, built this big company, this whole narrative, and he's basically saying, fuck you Democrats, fuck off. And I love that. I love that the Democrats who bought into this whole climate change bullshit now look like the idiots that they are because they embrace some stupid-ass narrative. They didn't question things, right? They fell for the feel-good tree-hugging. And the feel-good tree-hugging mentality, by the way, is the same mentality that's caused, in part, the destruction of America, right? These are the same people who say, open the borders, let these poor people in. Okay. So, I'm obviously here to criticize Musk and which, indirectly Trump, but I'm obviously not, I'm not like some one-sided guy. I'm telling you the good and the bad, right? It's funny though, because interestingly, you'll notice the timing of when Musk flipped. Musk flipped the script. When did he flip the script? I mentioned this recently. He flipped the script. In other words, when did Musk start supporting Trump? He hadn't supported Trump before. In fact, I do believe, wasn't Musk an advisor on some type of committee, perhaps energy or something like that with Trump, and he left, right? So Musk only recently, over the past, let's say, year, started warming up to Trump, right? And now he's throwing all this money into the Trump campaign, tens of millions of dollars, spending all this time going out, promoting him. Well, guess what? Musk flipped the script to be a Trump supporter when? After his company Tesla has been facing some major problems, right? And of course, after it appeared, because remember, Musk started warming up to Trump before Biden stepped down. So what's Musk thinking? He's thinking, oh shit, Trump's going to win the election. There goes my EV subsidies. Got it? Got it? That's the deal that you're not going to hear about. So Musk is warming up to Trump, supporting Trump now because he wants to be in good graces with Trump. This is the guy that's already talked to Trump. Oh, yeah, we got to cut government spending, all this and that. Well, guess what's not going to be cut? Trump, I can guarantee it. I mean, and I made a video where I talked about how Musk was manipulating Trump. Okay, we'll play the excerpt, not of the video commentary, but of the raw video here shortly, just as a reminder. This is what's going on, by the way. That's what's going on. Musk is supporting Trump, I believe, because he wants to continue to get the free money from the taxpayers for his company. That's the deal. And he recognized that Trump was going to win. Now, of course, we don't know. It's a little closer of a race. But I believe that's the situation. Okay, because think about it. All of Musk's reasons for supporting Trump, he acts like it just happened, a couple of months ago. We've had a border crisis for a very long time, right? And of course, Vance, the vice president candidate with Trump, Vance was basically put there by Peter Thiel, the money-worshipping sociopath. Okay? Trump met with all these billionaire scam artists, these Wall Street billionaire scammers. Peter Thiel, David Sachs, that's Elon Musk's little right-hand propaganda man. All these guys. And keep in mind, this is all about, what do you think Peter Thiel's there doing behind the scenes? People know, Peter Thiel knows that people know he's a fucking lunatic. Okay? So he knows he's got to hide. He knows he's got to create a puppet. And so what is this also about? It's also about taxes. Elon Musk has come out and talked about, well, I don't support subsidies, yet he's continuing to ask for subsidies. And Elon Musk doesn't support taxing the wealthy. You see? And so Elon Musk has kind of suddenly, it seems as if he suddenly kind of stepped on that stage of the libertarian mentality. Libertarians, I've exposed them, complete frauds. They basically support, they want to tell you they support liberty and freedom and free market capitalism to appeal to the individual, and when in reality, it's all about supporting corporate fascism. It's all about empowering corporations to do whatever the fuck they want. Because remember, you want to get the government out of the way. You want freedom and liberty. And what that means is that there's no more OSHA, no more EPA, right? No more environmental protection laws, no more workplace protection laws, no more consumer laws. That's what it's all about, folks. So isn't that a little bit weird how Elon Musk has all of a sudden now jumped upon this wacko, lunatic libertarian mentality? Well, it's all about making sure that the wealthy and aren't taxed. and getting the subsidies that he wants for his companies, including SpaceX. And let me just go ahead and say this. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Every single very, very wealthy person out there, there's not a single one out there who is not engaged in illegal activity or unfair business practices. You could say, that's illegal activity. That's fact. You can write that down. The only question behind that statement is, what would you consider to be very, very wealthy? Certainly, that includes every billionaire, without a doubt. I'm telling you. Now, you all know who I am. You know my background. I've studied this for a long time. It's a fact. I guess the only exception would be people who inherit money from their family, right? Or you win the lottery. These days, the lottery goes up past $1 billion sometimes. But of course, where did that money come from? The inheritance. They got it from that way as well. And that's a fact. And that is why, of course, we need to have a very high tax on the ultra wealthy. Because the fact is that, and you're not hearing this anywhere, but the fact is that these people, not only have they done things that are dishonest, immoral, probably illegal to get that money, but they've also utilized resources that aren't theirs. They've utilized resources that aren't theirs. And I'm not even talking about government taxes or taxpayer money. Okay? They've utilized resources that aren't theirs, that are from the people, ultimately. You see? So, anyway, before we go back and talk about more of this stuff in detail, namely Musk's false claims and questionable academic background, educational background, let's go ahead and listen to this now.
All right. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA. I'm dark, gothic MAGA. Well, the energy in this room is incredible. What a great group of people.
I've only got one question for you, and then I'm getting out of here because this is your stage. But we set up Doge.
Yes.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
So this is, of course, a talking point. They're spending too much money. We got to cut the budget, reduce the deficit, right? But you'll notice he's not going to talk about, and Trump's not going to talk about, the biggest waste of taxpayer money. What's the biggest waste of taxpayer money? American taxpayers are being forced to send their hard-earned money, the tax dollars, to Israel. Tens, perhaps ultimately hundreds of billions of dollars to Israel to fund what is known as pretty much widespread genocide, absolute atrocities, the murdering of women and children, bombing of hospitals, and claiming, oh, well, they're hiding there. Think about that. Now, of course, I'm not going to get into all that. Israel's been doing this in Palestine for decades. That's how they've increased their territory. It's completely illegal. Israel's an illegal fucking terrorist state, as far as I'm concerned. The United Nations has, for decades, declared Israel's actions illegal. And, but the sad thing is they're sending money to help Israel fight their wars. And I'm not even talking about the billions and billions of dollars of free money that goes to Israel every year of tax dollars. I'm not even talking about that. Money, just the money alone is over 10 billion. And then if you look at all the other things, contracts and all this other stuff, it's probably in excess of 20 billion that goes to Israel. And how do you think that happens? Well, who do you think controls the politicians. You understand? Of course, you've heard of AIPAC, right? That's just one lever. I'm not going to get into all that stuff. That rabbit hole goes way deep. I don't want to distract from that, but I'm just saying the point is that Elon Musk wants to talk about cutting government spending, but he's not going to talk about cutting funding for Israel's wars, nor cutting funding to Ukraine. And that's hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine already. I mean, think about that for a second. Folks, you got to understand something. Every time, if you're a U.S. citizen, every time the government spends your tax dollars, that means there's less money left over for mandatory benefits. See, these are discretionary funds. There's nothing earmarked in tax dollars that says we have to spend a single fucking penny on defense. Although, I mean, imagine this money that's going to Ukraine and Israel is from considered the Department of Defense. It's not defense. It's fucking offense. It's empowering countries. Well, Ukraine, I guess, is defense. In Israel's case, it's clearly offense. It has nothing to do with us. We have nothing to do with these countries. It's none of our fucking business. But that money's going there, and you know what's going to happen. Next time Congress meets, they're going to talk about the same thing they always talk about when they want to cut money. They want to cut your Social Security. They want to cut your Medicare. They want to cut Medicaid. Those are mandatory expenditures. It's illegal to cut those, actually. Do you understand? I mean, this is what every American should be hearing. I wrote about this almost 20 years ago. Okay? So think about that. Next time you hear, and of course there's many ways to cut these mandatory expenditures, the mandatory benefits, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and there's others as well, right? From the welfare, the food stamps, and so on and so forth. There's many ways to cut those that don't seem like a cut. For instance, raising the age of retirement, right? Increasing the premium prices for Medicare. Medicare didn't even used to have any fucking premiums. Okay? Over the years, it's increasing more and more and more and more. So just think about that. And also for all these Democrats out there that for some strange reason, they want to just let illegals into the country. Every time an illegal comes into the country, they're indirectly taking food off your table. How? Because their support, and they're getting a lot of support from the government, means expenditure of tax dollars. That tax dollars is coming from you. So don't bitch and moan when your Social Security is cut, or your state pension is cut, or you face an increase in taxes. And they don't just increase federal and state taxes. There's many ways, and I wrote about this almost 20 years ago in America's Financial Apocalypse. I predicted hidden taxes, an increase in hidden taxes, like, for instance, on your telecom bill, right? Many, fees and taxes that you don't, people, when they think of taxes, they think about federal and state taxes. Well, guess what? What's the tax that they charge you when you rent a car in America? I don't know where you live, but many places I see it's about 20%. 20 fucking percent. Okay, that's just one example. So just keep that in mind. These guys want to talk they want to talk big, talk about cutting the budget, but they don't want to tell you, so where's it going to be cut? The first place it should be cut is to support foreign countries in their wars. Ukraine, Russia is none of our fucking business. None of our fucking business. And let me remind everybody, it wasn't so long ago that America and Europe did not have a favorable view of Ukraine. They basically thought Ukraine was a rogue country and did not want to support them at all. But things seem to have changed. They changed when this comedian guy, Zelensky, with the right name, becomes president. And changed when Russia decides to invade Ukraine. It's none of our fucking business. Okay, there's none of our business at all. You can argue, of course, the hostilities in the South China Sea. You can argue that yes, that is our business because of the scope of the international, what's going on over there. But Ukraine, Russia is none of our fucking business. Okay, and what Israel does is really none of our. That's an issue for the United Nations. But of course, the United Nations is ignored, and whatever Israel wants, their lapdogs, right? Their puppets are going to agree to. America is going to agree and support. Europe's going to agree and support. Well, you can agree, but I don't want my tax money going over there. It's fucking ridiculous. Okay. And let me just remind everybody before I go on and move on to this. Let me remind everybody about what Bill Ackman did. The stock manipulator, the fucking loser who, as I mentioned before, I had him on the phone about 16, 17 years ago. It was fucking funny. I wish I'd recorded it. He was all in a fucking panic. But anyway, this stock manipulator, the guy that gets on TV and says something to try and manipulate a stock or the market, and then later on, when he manipulates the stock or the market, as he did during the 2020 pandemic, by getting on TV and saying all this rubbish, oh, we got to close down, right? Fear-mongering. Later on, the same media cabal that gave him that microphone, enabled him to manipulate the market, they come out later on and tell you how much of a great investor he is because he made this amazing trade. You got it? That's how they work, folks. So let's move on now to Elon Musk.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're being taxed. You're being taxed. All government spending is taxation. So whether it's direct taxation or all government spending, it either becomes inflation or it's direct taxation. Your money is being wasted, and
on supporting wars in Israel, with Israel and Ukraine. And this, by the way, I've heard Musk, apparently this is his whole little talking point. All government spending is taxation. He'll keep repeating this over. If you could listen to his video, this is his whole thing. Right? Like it's some major talking point. I mean, okay, who are you talking to? A third grade kid? Who doesn't know that? Wow, Elon, you're so insightful. You opened my eyes. Now I realize government spending is from taxation. Gee, thank you. I mean, what a fucking idiot. I guess that tells you something about the audience he's speaking to.
Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that. We're going to get the government off your back and out of your pocketbook.
You hear that? You hear that? Remember what I told you earlier about the libertarian lines? Get the government out of the way, out of your pocketbook. Well, isn't that what Trump said back in 2015, 2016? Right? Lowering taxes. And guess what? The taxes were lowered for the people and the entities that didn't need it. Right? The wealthy and the corporations. And let me just remind everybody, because there's a lot of stupid fucking idiots out there that think they know more than me. Okay? Corporate taxes were already low in most situations. They weren't 32%. That's the gross tax rate, the effective rate, what corporations end up paying after all the adjustments is very low. Now, it's impossible to really, for me anyway, to figure out what that is. But I can guarantee you, and this is before the tax cut, right? This is why you might recall hearing about many years ago, you'd hear about how Amazon pays no taxes. Many companies pay no taxes. Why? Well, when the official rate is 32%, but then you factor in all the tax credits, deductions, special situations, right? They game the system. You see? That's what you never heard. Why didn't the media say anything about that? Because, folks, like I say, when it comes to the big issues, the media, which, they're in with the politicians, it's all one big mafia. They're there to fuck the people. Just like getting back to Trump, I mentioned earlier how Trump is the media, right? Not only from the 80s being promoted, but also his Apprentice show, which I said this many years ago. The only reason why he got on that show is because he was making no fucking money. And it turns out I was right. He made a huge amount of money from that show, over $100 million. He wasn't making any money. Folks, people that are doing things that are important, that have things going on, aren't going to be on a fucking TV show. Those are the people who are doing that because their business is in the fucking gutter and or they're trying to launch something and they want that promo. Nobody worth a damn is on TV on a regular basis. These are the con men, the charlatans, trying to create a celebrity media status so they can use that to swindle people. Oh, remember me? I'm the celebrity chef on NBC, and I've got a book now. Oh, remember me? My name is Kevin O'Leary. I'm a great investor because that's what they tell you all on Shark Tank. I'm launching an ETF company. You got it? Celebrity media status. That's the media business model, the ad-based content model. Okay? See the same thing on ScamTube, everywhere. Legitimate people aren't spending their time in media. Legitimate professionals aren't on ScamTube. Okay? You got it? I know this because I'm a legitimate professional, and I know legitimate professionals. They're not fucking wasting their time on this cheesy-ass bullshit. Media, YouTube, whatever. They're not doing that. They're spending their time in their business. Their time is too important. And the time they have left over, they're spending with their family and enjoying it. It's the losers, the scammers that are in the media. It's just a fact. So, the point behind Trump and the media is this. Trump's whole thing is, the media's against me. They're saying all these bad things. They're trying to trash me. Saying all this. And so if the media is so much against Trump, why didn't the media ever come out and say, hey, Donald, by the way, because during his presidency, to try and give him a smaller chance of winning his second term, why didn't the media come out and say, Donald, you told everybody you were going to bring the jobs back. Yet your dispute with China now is all about intellectual property. And the fact is that if you brought the jobs back, you wouldn't have to worry about a dispute with China on an intellectual property because the facilities would be in America. So what are you doing? Are you enabling corporate America to stay in China by making sure China doesn't steal the intellectual property? Bingo. You understand. The media doesn't want people to know that the real deal is to protect corporate profits. It doesn't matter about bringing jobs back. It's about protecting corporate profits. See, they don't want to expose the big picture because then it's going to expose how the whole two-party mafia works. Same thing as what I told you earlier about Trump and Musk. They want to cut the budget, government budget, but they're not going to talk about cutting funding for Israel or Ukraine. You see? And so guess what? It's going to come out of your pocket. You see? So, getting back to the tax cuts, there's going to be more tax cuts. More tax cuts for the wealthy, guaranteed. No doubt about it. At some point, the people are to blame. At some point, it's the people, the dumbasses, who are too stupid to wake the fuck up. And they are continuously lied to and let down. And In America's case, that time has already come. Americans are responsible for their own situation because they've allowed themselves to be fucking fooled by this two-party bullshit system, which is a big fraud. It's all run by the big corporations. That's why the jobs haven't come back. That's why the jobs went overseas and they're not coming back. And let me just mention another thing, by the way, before we continue. You got this guy, Elon Musk, who he's pro-American. Well, how many factories does Elon Musk have in Tesla overseas? Got a big factory, a couple of big factories in Germany, Netherlands, huge factory in Shanghai, right? And he was going to open a factory in Mexico until Trump talked about tariffs to Mexico, right? So I don't get it. I don't understand. Why doesn't Elon Musk bring all those jobs back to America? Right? Why isn't anyone questioning Elon Musk on that? The media. Because folks, like once again, here's how it works. You got crime boss families, mafia, right? Let's say two mafia families. They fight for turf, right? But they never go to the police. Do you understand? They never go to the police. They're just fighting. In a way, they're kind of united, right? They're more united than they are close to the police. You could say, well, they could go to the police and get the other mafia party in trouble. No, they're never going to do that. It's just like in America, the Republicans and Democrats, they're laughing at you people. They grandstand on TV. Oh, you are a criminal. What are you doing? They do this for the fucking camera. And at the end of the day, the Democrats and Republicans, they meet up and they go out and have dinner on your tax dollar. And they go out to strip bars and they get drunk and they party together. It's a big fucking scam. Okay? That's the reality. That's how it works.
And America's just not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys are awesome. Honestly, this is like, yeah. I mean, this is the kind of positive energy that America is all about.
Yeah. Positive energy when they're chanting his name. He loves it. It's positive energy. They're fucking idiots.
Yeah. USA, 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 USA. Wah! Yes. Now, I have something I want to ask you to do, though. Because obviously, we're somewhat preaching to the converted in this stadium. But there's a lot of people out there who need to vote for President Trump. Okay? So, this is a real battle. This is a real...
Okay, great. So take a look at this, by the way. Next speaker here, Dr. Phil. I mean, this is consistent with Trump. Dr. Phil is a complete fucking con man. You all know. I mean, I don't need to say anything, do I? He's one of Oprah's creations. And, of course, Oprah is the queen pin of launching the careers of numerous con artists, right? You can just go down the list. In fact, I've mentioned recently Joe Rogan. He's kind of the internet version of Oprah. In fact, he surpassed Oprah. He's launched and promoted so many con artists and frauds, right? Let's get now to some specifics on Elon. Don't want to listen to any more of that. What do we have here?
Inflation is
Here we
caused by
go.
government overspending. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible and so the country lives within its means, just like a person
The
does?
waste is incredible, and nobody negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll probably try and merge at some point. I mean, I went through it. Like Air Force, just a thing like Air Force One. One of the first documents they asked me to sign, a general said, "Sir, would you please sign this document?" And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s. And the price was $5.7 billion for two planes. Now, now they're highly sophisticated. They're even nicer than your plane, okay, but much more sophisticated. They're very, I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
That's a crazy number.
It's a crazy number, but I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other items.
Multiply it by
the numbers are astronomical. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love it
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, "You want to quit?" They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company.
There you go, folks. You hear that? I did a video on this where I talked about how. So this was some type of a thing. Elon Musk, I guess he had Trump on Twitter, and basically this is what it was all about. Elon Musk volunteers telling him the government's spending too much money, and he wants to be on that committee. Think about it. This is a man who has built companies, built his fortune off of taxpayer money. So think about it. You better damn well believe he's going to make sure he's getting funded. But you never hear anything about what's going to be cut. The first thing that should be cut, eliminated, is funding for Israel and funding for Ukraine. Right? Why aren't they talking about that? Think about that for a second. Washington is sending taxpayer dollars to Israel, which is going out and murdering innocent people. Think about that. Right? Is Washington sending military aid to Palestine? At least defensive for? No. But they are giving them something. They're sending them fucking Band-Aids. They're sending them medical supplies. Think about that. What kind of fucking joke is that? Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? And no one's raising a big issue about that? I don't care what country it is. I don't care if it's fucking Zimbabwe or Yugoslavia. We shouldn't be sending countries money to attack other countries. And especially, we don't even have the money. You don't hear about that. Why? Right? And meanwhile, once again, hundreds of billions of dollars going to Ukraine. It's none of our business. That's Europe's fucking problem. That's Europe's issue. Take care of it, Europe. Take care of it, NATO. Go over there. Why is America funding all this shit? And they're not going to talk about it. And you all know Trump's stance on Israel, right? Because, of course, you know, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is an Israeli citizen, which, of course, you all also know that Jared Kushner was put in a position. He basically forced, what's the guy's name out? The Secretary of State, the former CEO from Exxon, the guy who resigned from Exxon Mobil to become Secretary of State. And he was basically forced out so Jared Kushner could take over his role and do all the negotiations. Right? And of course, Donald Trump released Kushner's dad from prison. He commuted his sentence. You all know Jared Kushner's father's a fucking fraud, right? Real estate scam artist. You all know that. I think it's real estate. Right? So who's running the country? Right? These are the things that need to be talked about. And instead, what happens? Well, you got frauds out there like Tucker Carlson, who comes out and basically creates enough pressure to get Musk to allow him back on Twitter. Tucker Carlson comes out and tells the whole world, some interview, how Elon Musk, or how Alex Jones has predicted so many things. He's so great. Alex Jones is a fraud. He's predicted nothing. He's a total fucking fraud. It tells you what Tucker Carlson's all about. Complete fucking fraud. Okay? So why aren't they talking about these critical issues? All they got to talk about is a handful of things. When you go out there and you want to talk or you want to debate a candidate, it's quite fucking simple. Number one, the border. Close the fucking border. Either you want to close it or you don't. Number two, healthcare. Making sure Americans can afford healthcare, restructuring the healthcare system to make it affordable instead of a extortionist fucking industry run by Wall Street. Number three, bringing the jobs back, putting certain specific guidelines to make sure these jobs come back. And you all may have heard the video that I created the other day criticizing this legal fucking grifter. You know, this guy's he's a clown. He's an attorney clown. He doesn't even know how to post proper affiliate disclosure. In fact, he doesn't even call it disclosure. He calls it disclaimer. What a fucking idiot. He went to law school. You're a lawyer, dude? You're a lawyer and you don't even know? That's not a disclaimer, you dumbass. It's called disclosure. There's a fucking difference. Legal eagle. Mr. Stone. You know the difference between disclaimer and disclosure? You're a fucking attorney. I'm just a science Wall Street guy. How come I know it and you don't know it? Anyway, I'll get back to that fucking clown in the future. But this guy made a video. And apparently, I would say he got paid for that video. Something tells me that video supporting, smashing Trump. Once again, you all know I'm not a big supporter of Trump. But I took offense that he made this video specifically, made it seem like, get out there and vote. No, it was about smashing Trump and smashing his character. Always a bad person. Without really telling you what was on the line. What was at stake. Instead of talking about our border crisis, he talks about how, let me get this fucking clown's picture here. He talks about how, Donald Trump wants to send, millions of American citizens, right, who were born in this country out of the country. He's talking about, of course, the people who were born from illegal parents while they were in the country. He doesn't talk about millions flooding over the country, causing major financial and economic stress to our state social systems, the federal social system, the sanctuary cities, and all these crazy things going on. He doesn't talk about that. What a piece of trash this guy is. Not only is he an incompetent attorney, he's a piece of trash. Piece of fucking trash. And he's such a loser, And a failure, he's on YouTube. My YouTube career, I'm going to sell advertisements. Right? Fucking loser. So this guy, Mr. Legal Eagle, Devin Stone, same name as Roger Stone. Roger Stone, the fucking felon. One of Trump's guys, who Trump also pardoned, right? Just like he pardoned all these other criminals, Steve Bannon. Mr. Stone, Mr. Legal Eagle wants to come out and tell you, well, Trump's tariffs are going to be bad. And I suggest you watch this video and you be very careful towards the end where I post excerpts from my book, America's Financial Apocalypse, especially the excerpts on trade. You might want to pause that and read very carefully. I wrote that almost 20 years ago. Okay? That's why I was banned. You see, they don't want people to know the fucking reality. And you see what's happened since that time. This guy, he wants to tell you that Trump's tariffs are going to destroy the economy. They're going to cause inflation, and they're going to cause you to pay $4,000 for an iPhone. The typical scare tactic to targeting consumer greed, right? In other words, you're going to suffer. You're going to have to pay more. Not thinking about the big picture. First of all, $4,000 iPhone's a joke. Second of all, tariffs are for a reason. China has been cheating for decades. Okay? Cheating. These tariffs help balance the playing field, and they help to bring the jobs back. Right? Think about it for a second. You're buying an iPhone or whatever phone you're going to buy. Every time you do that, you're sending money to a communist government that's hell-bent on military conflict, that's hell-bent on taking over the whole area, that part of the country, at least. Okay? You are sending money. Every time you buy something that's made in China, and that includes, by the way, things like your laptop, your HP laptop. Do you think that's made in the U.S.? It's coming from China. It's assembled, perhaps, in the U.S., right? But all the parts are coming from China. You're sending money to that country to support their military, to support the inhumane criminal treatment of the minorities there, the Falun Gong as well, right? All these things that are going on in China. Of course, the media doesn't want to tell you these things. They don't want to remind you. Why? Because the media is corporate. You know who owns the media. You know who runs the media, right? The big corporate interests. They pay for the advertisements, you see. But guess what? Some Chinese official comes out and says, you know what? We don't like what America's doing, and we're going to start to push away from the iPhone. You all heard what was happening a year or 2 years ago, and all the Chinese are starting to ban the iPhone now. You understand? Americans won't do that because Americans are run by their consumer fucking greed. There's no unity. They've destroyed the unity in the West, and by a variety of means. It's been going on for a long time. So that the thing, folks, I've been talking about this for years. This is what this criminal mafia that runs the West is doing. They break down society, right? They break down religion. They tell you that everyone's the same race. They de-emphasize your ethnicity. They basically say everyone's the same sex, right? So on and so forth. Why are they doing these things? They don't want you to have anchors, an attachment. They don't want you to see yourself as a specific race, a specific gender, a specific ethnicity. They don't want you to have unity with your family. That's why you have the divorce laws in the West, right? Which are basically incentivize women to get a divorce. They want to break down the family. They want to break down the nuclear unit, the societal unit, and that includes the religious foundation people have. Why? Because they want to make people feel like just individuals caring for themselves, and they focus on material items. You see, that's how they're doing it. Meanwhile, you look at some of these other countries, including communist countries like China, but countries outside of the West, they have more unity. They care about their society and their people because they're not controlled by consumerism. This is what's going on, folks. I mean, if you didn't see it all this time, I'm explaining it to you now. And this explains why you're seeing all these things. It's about control. Okay? They want to control everybody, and they've already achieved that. This is why people in the West, especially in America, have not even realized what's going on. So therefore, if you don't realize what's going on, you're not going to protest. When's the last time you heard of a big mass, a crowd, going to Capitol Hill and protesting outsourcing of jobs? Going to Capitol Hill in mass and protesting the criminal nature of America's healthcare industry. When? Now, what do they do instead? Instead, what they do is they'll go and they'll protest getting a vaccine based upon Alex Jones conspiracy theories. Instead, they're going to go and protest at Capitol Hill based upon what Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson tell them about the election being stolen from Trump. You understand? You're dealing with a bunch of stupid people. Americans are fucking stupid. They're under mind control, complete fucking mind control. It's just shocking to me. That's the reality. You're not going to hear about it anywhere else. You're not going to hear it anywhere else. Okay? Because this exposes the grand scheme of what's going on without naming, the specific mafia of criminals and sociopaths that are directly involved, along with their outsider puppets that they've paid off. Okay. So let's go to Elon Musk now. Elon Musk, right? A guy who's clearly had many hair transplants. He's aligning himself with Donald Trump, who's clearly had many hair transplants. So it's the transplant guys, the hair transplant guys. I mean, I'm wondering, with their celebrity media status, are they going to launch a hair transplant company, right? Hair club for MAGA, right? Hair club for MAGAs. So that's why I posted this. I think it's kind of funny. So this kind of alludes to these meetings that were organized for Trump. Okay? Musk and all these billionaires. Now take a close look here. Steve Mnuchin, okay? This guy is a piece of garbage. I believe, not that it really matters, I suppose, but I mean, you look at the guy. You look at the face, Steve Mnuchin. I don't have a picture of him up. You can take a look at him. To me, the first thing that pops up when I see that face, Steve Mnuchin, I'm willing to bet he's a pedophile from the face. They typically have, not that they all have the same, but I mean, when you see that type of face, Jared from Subway, they have this kind of face that, to me, rings that pedophile bell, right? We don't know, but we do know one thing. Understand that Steve Mnuchin, he's not a Goldman Sachs guy. Oh, you worked at Goldman? Yeah. His dad got him a job there for like a couple of years, a long time ago. Steve Mnuchin is a Hollywood director. You know that, right? So he's a Hollywood guy. Now, things are starting to get a little more interesting. Hollywood, right? What's going on in Hollywood. The sexual deviance. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant here. But I just wanted to point that out. And you might take a close look at these names. If you want to see something in common, they all share a commonality here. All the names, right? Anybody hint? You might want to look into it if you don't see it instantly. But take a look. Rupert Murdoch. Oh, the media guy. Okay. Peter Thiel, we talked about this sociopath before. Travis Kalanick, you guys remember who this is, right? This is the Uber scam artist. The guy who created the criminal company that, along with Airbnb, they both did the same thing because they're connected. Connected, you know what that means? You're kind of in the same group and you know all the right people and you can get things done. They bought off politicians. They bribed politicians, not only in America, but around the world. You know this, right? You all know this. Travis Kalanick, the fraud, who's worth a lot of money now through his fucking legal crimes, I suppose you could call it. It was even exposed that he had guys that actually their job was to fucking bribe politicians, city officials, city council members, to allow this illegal operation known as Uber, right? It's illegal, you know that, right? Airbnb, same thing. Folks, we're talking about, you understand when I mention mafia, what we're talking about here? We're talking about a more sophisticated, higher level of fraud and crime, which goes unpunished because you're in the right group and you know the right people have the right connections. Mike Milken. Do I need to say anything about Mike Milken, the so-called junk bond king of the savings and loan crisis? I've been mentioning this guy for years. Complete fraudster. Now, during the savings and loan crisis, which was a tiny blip, that was in the 80s, tiny blip compared to the financial crisis of 2008. How many people were indicted for fraud during the savings and loan crisis? More than 1,000. How many people were indicted for fraud for the financial crisis, which was so much larger and was on a global scale? How many people? Zero. FYI, that kind of tells you the progression, or you could say regression, in what's happened to America over that time and who's taken over complete control. FYI. Mike Milken went to Club Fed, was supposed to serve, 9 or 10 years, you can look it up, for manipulating bonds, defrauding shareholders. And guess what? He was sentenced to 9 or 10 years, I don't know, maybe 10 years. But he got to keep $500 million. Can you imagine how much $500 million is a lot of money today. How much do you think it was back in the early 80s or mid 80s? Right? It's a lot of money, a lot more money. He got to keep that. But it gets better. Mike Milken, because he's a privileged guy, he only served around 2 years, maybe even less, in Club Fed, and he got out. And ever since that time, the media wants to tell you, whenever they post him on the Forbes richest 500 people, they want to call him a philanthropist. They tell you he's a philanthropist. Okay? They don't talk about how he wrecked the fucking bond market, how he defrauded investors. He's known as a philanthropist. Okay? Just to give you a backstory on these people. And you all know Rupert Murdoch. I'm not even going to get into him. So these were the people that attended these private meetings and dinners with Trump. You understand. Think about that for a second. Think about who's backing Trump. It doesn't get any better on Harris's side either. That's what I'm saying, folks. You don't have a choice. Okay, either way, you're fucked. Okay. Here you go. Here's the mailing address. Demand prosecution for all Elon Musk crimes, deceit, lies, con artist schemes, including but not limited to promising prospective car buyers in 2019 they can make 30 grand a year with a robo-taxi. I believe that was by 2021. That was his claim. Much more fraud. Yeah, so this is some comments talking about how Musk claims to be an engineer. He makes that claim all the time. He's not a fucking engineer, okay? You're not an engineer, Elon. But you see, this is part of the whole scam and the con behind Elon. The whole con is that he wants to tell you he's great, he's a genius, he's so smart. Listen, just because you have some type of a, what do you call it? Some type of a genetic dysfunction, some type of a syndrome, which makes you come across as obscure, some type of a developmental disorder, doesn't make you a genius. Okay, Elon. But you've learned pretty well how to con people. The whole con is this. It's just like what he did with the founders of Tesla. He undermined their role. He pushed them out, and then he claims that he created Tesla. He wants to claim that he's an engineer. He did everything. In reality, he's got all these engineers who he under his belt that he pays for, that work at SpaceX, that work at Tesla, and he gets ideas from them. And he comes out and he tells you he's the great guy. You see, that's the whole scam. It's all about Elon Musk. He's so great. And many of these little ideas that he's come out with they've failed. And they're really stupid, like his Hyperloop and all this other garbage. So So this is a SEC filing for PayPal, and you can see this shows where Elon Musk is disclosing his background, where he claims to have received a Bachelor's of Science in Physics from the University of Pennsylvania and a Bachelor's of Science in Economics from the University of Pennsylvania, which is their Wharton School of Economics there, in 1995. Okay, so keep that in mind for later. So he claims to have gotten those 2 degrees from the University of Pennsylvania, BS in Economics, BS in Physics, in 1995. This is an official SEC filing. Okay, so here's his degree. I have a degree. I don't have it in front of me. My degree from UPenn. It looks valid. It's in Latin. But take a look here. Take a look at this. What does it say? Bachelor of Arts. Now, it's not going to say the major. Okay. When you are from, say, like typically when you graduate from the School of Arts and Sciences, it's going to say, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Sciences, kind of School of Arts and Sciences. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to give the major. Okay. So we don't know what this refers to, but what we do know is that, and I haven't inspected this for, I don't know, does it say the year here? Well, we can see Bachelor of Arts, right? Now this is submitted as evidence for a lawsuit because Elon Musk was actually sued for lying about his educational background. I don't know the results of that. I think I recall hearing about it many years ago. So we'll get back to that here in a second.
Inflation is...
Well, let's see here. Yeah, here we go. So take a look. Now, Elon Musk over the years I guess he's got it down, his story straight now, but before he had been known to have said he graduated from 1994, and then he, of course, the official thing he says was 1995, and then the latest, which he sticks to now, is like, well, okay, I didn't get my physics degree in 95. I got it in 97 because what happened was I left the university to enroll in a PhD program at Stanford, and I had a course or 2 that I hadn't completed, and they told me, once I complete those courses, they'll give me the degree. I completed the courses, da-da-da-da. I mean, you can read the bullshit. It sounds like bullshit to me, because think about it. By 2002, that filing that you saw for PayPal, that was an SEC filing, right? 7 years later, he's saying he got his degrees, both of them, in 1995. You understand the inconsistency there. In addition to that, he's gone on record. You can just research it for yourself. He's gone on record to state that he got, and you saw in the degree, BA, he claims he got a BS in physics. He's also claimed he got a degree in computational physics, which doesn't exist at UPenn. And then his whole story about Stanford, right? I moved to Stanford to get investors because I was going to start a company. Then he claims, I started a PhD program at Stanford, and within 2 days, I deferred before paying tuition. None of this is true. It's not possible. It's all bullshit. The inconsistencies are just, they're stunning. And you can just go through and read this for yourself, okay? You can just read it. This is all documented, and the amazing thing is this last statement here. He claimed that Stanford told him they would let him finish his undergrad degree, right, at Penn, after he finished his PhD or during it, right, which is really strange, right? And take a look at the statement above that. Stanford's dean of graduate students wrote him. He claims that Stanford's dean of students wrote him that she had reviewed his records and he had been admitted, but she filed a legal statement that no records were found. So in other words, there's no records of any of this shit. Now, you all know about Stanford. Stanford is America's crime factory. Stanford University is America's crime factory. You know, the university that's responsible for the Theranos scammer, Elizabeth Holmes, right? The university that's responsible for more than one cryptocurrency scammer, the Korean guy, forgot his name. The university responsible for Sam Bankman-Fried's parents, they were attorneys there, right? Many scammers come out of Stanford. It seems to be, you know, the crime factory of America, white-collar scammers. My point is that, in addition, let's not forget, Stanford was really front and center in the middle of the college admissions scandal that took place some 10 years ago. You might recall that, right? Stanford was a big player in that scandal whereby people had been paying money to get into many schools. Many schools in California, USC, Stanford, many others. So think about that for a second. What's that tell you about Stanford? It's a corrupt fucking place. Now, think about it for a second. Do you think it's possible for Elon Musk to have paid someone at Stanford, right, and also UPenn, to make some of these claims, right? Remember, the Dean of Graduate Studies, Stanford's Dean of Graduate Studies, says there's no records. No records found that he had been admitted. Okay? Think about that. So according to the Dean of Graduate Studies at Stanford, there are no records stating that Elon Musk had been admitted to the PhD program. Okay? One other thing is that he got a BS. You all saw that. I'm sorry, BA. Supposedly a BA he got in physics. I don't believe that. I don't have the evidence in front of me to know that's true. And keep in mind, just for some, to give you some perspective on me, I'm not someone who, went with this whole conspiracy about Obama. He's here, he's a resident of here, he's from Africa, whatever. It's like, show me the evidence. I mean, okay, there's a question, okay. But I certainly did not jump aboard that because there's no evidence. There's no evidence either way. But certainly there are questions. And that's the same thing I'm saying about Elon Musk. There are certainly questions, and I'm not convinced that he has the degree. Why? Because there's a litany of contradictions and lies that he has stated, inconsistencies he has stated relative to this degree, relative to when he supposedly got it. That in and of itself tells me there's something that's not quite right there. So ask yourself the question, what's the possibility Elon Musk can pay somebody to make this stuff official? And let me just go ahead and tell you folks, if you don't know this, there are universities in America, and I know for a fact, I don't know high-level universities, but I know there are some universities in America for a fact whereby people outside of the country have bought degrees. And I'm not talking about diploma factories. I'm talking about nonprofit universities. Okay, I'm not going to mention the cases. But anyway, so ask yourself that question, if it's possible. I think it's quite possible. And I think there's a good chance that it happened. What does all this matter? Well, it matters a lot because remember, Elon Musk has built his whole name, this whole persona, based upon him being this amazing inventor, an engineer, an entrepreneur, right? And he's so great, he's so brilliant, right? That's a lot of what all this stuff is based on. Now, that's not even the worst of it, is it? It's not even the worst of it. Take a look here. Let's talk now about Elon Musk's cryptocurrency. You all know Elon Musk's involvement with cryptocurrencies, right? The statements he had made in the past when he bought for Tesla cryptocurrencies, talking about how he was, oh yeah, cryptocurrencies are great. And basically, he's been accused of many pump and dumps, right? Notably also with this Dogecoin. Right? In fact, I just saw not more than 3 days ago, apparently there's an investigation now that's been opened on Tesla for the self-driving. So I think the Department of Justice now. So I've been talking about this for years. I mean, in my opinion, Elon Musk should be standing trial, should be indicted for homicide. All these false claims, and this kind of opens the cover of the rabbit hole that I've talked about many times before with this Lex Fridman. Lex Fridman. You all know this con man, right? Let's take a look here and see if I've got it. Here we go. You can read this hopefully. And this is a guy who, and I talked about this, I honestly believe, I have no evidence, but I believe, I'm willing to bet there's something not quite right with Lex Fridman and his degree. Okay? He has allegedly he has a PhD in engineering from Drexel University. Okay? His father is a professor in the engineering department of Drexel University. Now, Drexel, as I've mentioned before, I'm familiar with the university. It's not far from the University of Pennsylvania. It's a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's a commuter college. I mean, have you heard of Drexel other than like maybe in the March Madness basketball? Right. It's a fucking commuter college. It doesn't have an international reputation. It's a fucking commuter school is what it is. In fact, Temple University, which is like in the ghetto of Philadelphia, right? Temple probably has a more widespread reputation or known more than Drexel. Okay. But Drexel University is a commuter school. So think about this for a second. Why would a kid, go and study where his father is a teacher in the same department? Would you want to go be under the constant fucking watch of your dad, who's probably, in your lifetime busted your ass, I mean, think about it. Would you want to be around your dad in the same department in the university where, talking to your parents, they want you to make good grades. They're going to put pressure on you all the time. The last thing you want to do, I would say, is go to a school and study in a major where your father is in that department, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you are a professor, and I'm not even going to get into how this guy got a professorship, his position, my potential ideas. I'm not going to get it. That's a whole other can of worms. Okay. But the point is that if you are a professor and your kid is applying to university, almost invariably, your kid is going to be able to get into a much better university than your parents are teaching at. Guaranteed. That's a fact. So, given the fact that his father is a professor at Drexel, why did he go to this shit school? I mean, it's not like his dad's a professor at MIT, and he says, okay, I'm going to go to MIT. He's going to a shitty school. Why is he going to get, and think about it, it's not undergrad degree. This is the last step, PhD. Very important. Why are you going to go to a shit school to get your PhD when you have the opportunity to go to a much better school? Okay? Why? It doesn't make sense. I'm telling you, folks. I know a lot about academia, believe me. And I'm telling you, this is all very strange. Once again, If his dad was a professor at MIT, Caltech, or, a really good school, Ivy League school, whatever, then okay, I get it. It's a good school. I'll overlook the fact that my dad might be breathing down my fucking neck every day. Okay? But it's a shit school. It's a shitty school. I would be embarrassed to tell anybody I had a PhD from Drexel. That's just me. Okay? I feel like a loser and a failure and a dummy. Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, that explains why Lex Friedman comes across as a fucking dummy, as an airhead. Now, maybe he's so stupid he couldn't get into another school. Maybe he needed his dad to get him into Drexel. He certainly seems like a buffoon. That's a possibility, right? In fact, maybe he needed his dad's help to get him through that PhD program. Now, you tell me, when you listen to this guy, does he sound like an intelligent person? He sounds a little slow. He sounds a little challenged to some degree, in my opinion. Okay? He certainly doesn't seem like he even has, he doesn't seem like he has even a master's degree in engineering at all. So here's the point. That's interesting to think about. And it does play into the situation here. Hopefully you're reading this. It plays into a situation whereby he got a job as a staffer, basically, in the research department of MIT. So let me explain to you all how it works. There are universities, especially, universities like MIT, they have all types of institutes and, government programs and facilities and so on and so forth where you can go and work. Okay? If you have, if you have the proper requirements, degrees, so on and so forth, or just whatever. He's working at MIT in one of these laboratories, in a department. He's not a professor. He's not a lecturer. He's basically a staffer on the research, okay? But he comes out and tries to make it look like he is a professor because he taught some class, which anybody can do over there. Anyone can teach a class over there. It's an informal class, okay? So you can just go and look it up. This guy's tried to position himself as an MIT researcher. Why? Okay? And you can read this here, this post here, right? Well, it becomes very important once you consider that several years ago, Lex Friedman, using this clout that he creates like he's somebody. And some of the papers, if you look at the papers that his name is on from MIT, you'll see that if you all know about publications, scientific publications, you'll notice that when the name is at the first of the list, it means they're the least contributor. They contributed the least. The principal author is at the end. Now, don't quote me on that because it's been decades since I've thought about that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. Okay, so you can tell, is someone a principal author? Well, if they're towards the front or at the front, they did the least work. Now, maybe they did the most work in terms of the grunt work, right? But in terms of the lead, the principal investigator is going to be the last name on the list, and then in that order. That's how it works. Okay. In all the publications I've seen, almost all of them, he's like at the first. There's a long list of people. Okay. My point is this. Lex Friedman came out with these papers that he wrote that were not peer-reviewed at all. He just published them online. And they were making false claims for full self-driving. Basically during the time when Tesla was pushing all their bullshit. He was doing this to positively put Tesla in a positive light, right? He's part of the scam. And he did this, I believe, to get in good with Elon Musk. And guess what? Ever since that time, he's been in good grace with Elon Musk. He's got Elon Musk on his podcast, boosted his podcast subscribers, the whole Joe Rogan circle jerk. You got it? I mean, Elon Musk, let's get back to Elon Musk for a second here. Elon Musk has made so many false claims dating back to You remember the 420, right? After he smoked pot on Joe Rogan, then he claims that someone's going to buy out his company. He's got funders ready to buy it out at 420. He tweeted, which is illegal. He got away with that though, because he's got money, right? And then what? Then he started making all these claims. The robo-taxi, remember he said, oh, you can buy robo-taxi for $30,000 and by 2021 you'll be making a such and such, right? Elon Musk made billions, tens and tens of billions of dollars based upon the full self-driving claims. That's the point. Telling people, yeah, we're going to be ready and it's going to do this. And that shit ain't going to be ready for a fucking long time. Unless you want to deal with, continuous deaths on the road. As a result of all this, of course, I mentioned at least 20 people have been killed. Tesla, self-driving. Many people injured. Okay. And you all might recall the engineer, the former engineer, senior engineer from Tesla who came out and testified that Elon Musk created he was behind the fake videos, the fake claims of self-driving. That's fraud. That's like the guy at Nikola. I mean, why isn't Elon Musk facing fucking prison time? In fact, Nikola, Milton, whatever his name was, this guy, he made those false claims, but his lies didn't kill anybody. His lies didn't lead to any deaths. Elon Musk's lies led to 20 deaths because people believed the claims of his self-driving. Nothing's happening to him. Think about that. And think about the amount of money he made from the boost in Tesla shares based upon all these fucking lies. And then you bring in Cathie Wood, right? All these people who kiss Elon Musk's ass. She's a fraud as well. I've exposed her, right? She's also involved in pumping cryptocurrencies with Elon Musk. You got it, folks? Let's take a look here now at this little Twitter comment here. This is pretty funny. Back when Elon Musk had just taken over Twitter, and maybe a few months after that, he's starting to get criticized. Gosh, I've got to focus on Tesla, that. And then Lex Fridman, let me run Twitter. This guy is such a fucking rainbow chasing loser. He's always wanted to. This guy also, he'll come out, I just ran 10 miles today. Like, who cares? Shut your fucking mouth, you're a loser, dude. Lex Fridman, you are a pathetic loser. Loser. You're such a fucking loser. And this is a guy, once again, who interviewed this CoffeeZilla grifter, the promoter of fake gurus. He promoted Tom Nash. He built Tom Nash's channel. He didn't call Tom Nash out. Say, you know what? I built this guy up. He's a fraud. He's been posting fake credentials. Yeah, he scammed people on FTX. I'm sorry. Right? CoffeeZilla, the same guy who pretends to come out after scammers. He doesn't expose anything. Just the most obvious, stupid stuff that's like, it's so stupid and obvious, it's funny. But what does he do? He does that. He comes out and pretends to expose people who have already been exposed, who are such obvious scammers, right? Why? Number one, it gets him attention. Why? Because he's basically saying cryptocurrencies are valid, but these guys are scammers. No. Cryptocurrencies are a scam. Coffee fucking boy. They promote illegal activity. That's the primary purpose. Drug trafficking, human sex trafficking, terrorist activities, ransomware, money laundering. That's the majority of money in cryptocurrencies. Why aren't you exposing that? So he serves the purpose of a useful idiot there. But while he's doing all that, guess what? He's monetizing his channel, so he's advertising for the same scammers. He's getting paid by the scammers, indirectly from YouTube, to promote them. He's hosting their video ads. Think about that for a second. A guy that claims to be a scam buster, and he's making money from scam ads on his videos. Okay? I mean, if Lex Fridman had a fucking, reasonable brain, he would come out and call him out for that. But no, Lex Fridman got CoffeeZilla on his channel because Lex Friedman, I think, is afraid that CoffeeZilla will expose him, which points to how stupid Friedman is, not realizing that CoffeeZilla is incapable of exposing anything above a third grade fucking level. You think CoffeeZilla knows Friedman's a fraud? Fucking of course not. You think he knows Joe Rogan is a fraud? Fucking of course not. And of course he got on Joe Rogan after that. You understand? To put them into the circle jerk. He's in the protection now. They're all in the circle jerk. You got it, folks? You understand what I'm saying? All these people are in a bunch of circle jerks, many of which are connected. The Elon Musk circle jerk, Kathy Wood, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones is kind of in there now, right? Lex Friedman, you understand? Patrick Bet-David. I mean, all these guys they're all together. They go into the same conferences. They're all being interviewing the same people. They're all hanging out together. You understand? It's a big fucking network, a syndicate of disinformation and frauds. This is the way the world works now because of the internet. You're going to see this in every single genre. I exposed this whole dynamic more than 15 years ago with the whole gold pumping scene. Okay? And that is a blueprint for how all this stuff works. Whether you're talking about the intellectual dark web, which is part of that bullshit, right? Or the whole cryptocurrency syndicate, right? No matter what you're talking about, this is how it all works. It's the big circle jerk. And as I mentioned, if you want to spot one con, if you want to spot the full army of cons, spot one, see who they hang out with. Okay? That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. So you can see here, this guy, he's such a fucking rainbow chaser. Oh, let me run Twitter. You can't run anything. You're a loser, man. And notice Elon Musk. Elon knows. Elon's not a dumb guy, okay? He knows Friedman is an idiot. He knows Friedman is a useful idiot, and he knows he's incapable. So Elon doesn't say anything. I'll run it for no salary. Elon's thinking like, fuck no, get out of here, dude. You're a disaster. He's not going to say that because, he's useful for Elon because he helped Elon Musk defraud investors for tens of billions of dollars in the share appreciation in Tesla, right? That's the reality you're not going to hear about. That's the reality, folks. Okay. That's all I've got. I now have to go and check on my beautiful, young, hot, gorgeous model wife.